About a year ago, I felt like God was telling me to change my content. I love video games, but they were boring now. So I listened to that still small voice and started a gaming adventure, collecting difficult achievements in games I loved and others I've never played. Which is why you're here. Today on the gaming adventure, we travel back to the world Sarah to save our loved ones from the Locust Horde once again. Now, while there are plenty of achievements we could have tackled in this game, my research team has told me blindfolded is still off the table, unless this video gets a million views. And the seriously achievement would be incredibly boring to watch. This left an achievement that would test our strength in ways I would never imagine. Suicide Missionary. As you may know, this achievement is not for the faint of heart. It requires you to beat the entire game on the hardest difficulty, Insane Mode. So as I got comfortable in my chair with a cup of coffee in my hand, I prepared myself for the emotional toll this journey would take. The first of 5 acts takes place 6 months after the light mass offensive from the previous game. Surviving the light mass attack, the Locusts are out for revenge and somehow destroying entire cities. With Jacinto being humanity's last refuge, our mission was simple: infiltrate the Locust Hollow, destroy them all, and save the world. Again. Arriving outside Jacinto Hospital, Marcus, Dom, and Anya are discussing plans when the new rookie arrives, Ben Carmine.
Glass by the looks of it. Time to train the rook?
This is when I would skip the tutorial just like any normal gamer would, but if you know anything about the Carmines, they need all the help they can get. After training the rook in the ways of the chainsaw and bottle shooting, we head to the hospital as it's being attacked by the Locusts. On our way to help, we meet an old friend, a cog soldier known for war. Yes! Yes! The man!
Ty, good to see you. What are we looking at?
Locust Street.
Just as Ty informs us of the emulsion sickness that's plaguing Sarah, we arrive at our first taste of combat against a Locust ambush, and it actually went a lot better than I expected. This can't... Well? Dude, I mean, this doesn't seem like it's that hard. I might be the only one, but was the beginning of this game really easy for you guys? It had to be the tutorial. We continued through the hospital and cleared out the other areas. We even passed through the courtyard with no issues. It was actually so easy that Chat and I were beginning to think I was on the wrong difficulty. So we decided to run to the cafeteria for a quick bite to eat, but when we got inside, we found out that we were the quick bite to eat. Dude, there's no way this guy's taking me down. First death. Although, with our first death out of the way, the nerves were finally settling as we continued through the hospital. We even unlocked an achievement we weren't expecting to. What is that? One more with feeling? Master the ways of the active reload. Let's go, baby. Finally arriving in the lobby, the team is ambushed by another group of Locust drones that took us out faster than a cheetah hunting a wounded gazelle. But our second attempt, we threw 2 perfectly timed grenades, sending these Locusts into many different pieces, which led us back to Carmine as he was having some weapon problems that apparently run in the family.
The area I was guarding got too hot, Sergeant. These gears rounded me up to fight, sir.
So why aren't you out there fighting?
Reloading, sir. Still don't have that trick down.
After fixing his jam gun and checking for snipers, we helped out the other gears clear the streets just outside of the hospital. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bad, which is great news for me, but unfortunately Dom would receive some bad news regarding his missing wife moments later.
There's gotta be another lead or something, right?
I'm sorry, Dom. That's it.
Discovering the bad lead on Dom's missing wife was heartbreaking, but we would not stop looking until we found her. We gave Dom some space to cool off as Delta Team and the COG Army received their next order of business from Chairman Richard Prescott. Arriving by chopper to the assault derricks, the chairman was giving the COG soldiers a rousing speech as we prepared to make our way into the Locust home.
Come forth and bring back the hope of humanity!
After hopping off the chopper, we meet our driver, Dizzy Wallen, who's a conscript working for the COG. After introducing us to his lovely rig Betty, we make our way to the deployment area at Landdown. Honestly, I was pretty excited for this part. We got to take a hayride and sit back while Dizzy and Betty did all the work. Oh shoot, no way, bro. What is that? Okay, maybe not all the work. This part ended up being a little bit more difficult than I thought. You see, what you're supposed to do here is use the turret to defend the rig while you are moving forward. But if you're like me, shooting projectiles out of the air is a little bit challenging, especially when you don't use the right weapon. Who would have thought? After using the turret, things started to get a little bit easier as we chugged ahead like the little engine that could. But chugging ahead with as much steam as possible just wasn't quite enough when we faced a Reaver that had to have watched the movie Invincible. Because, well, he was invincible. Oh, he's still shooting at us? Bro, what is this? We're gonna die. What is even that, bro? How do these guys... How? How? Surprisingly though, after another attempt, we made it through the cliffside and took down all the flying enemies. It had to be a bug in the game. Get it? Bug? Locust? Whatever. If the bugs weren't bad enough, we came to a stop because Betty needed to be repaired. As Dizzy fixed the rig, we protected it from below that would have had 0 casualties if Dom hadn't gotten our way, which he will be doing a lot throughout the entirety of this video. But once our beloved Betty was repaired, we hopped back on and continued our way to land down when an emergence cave appeared. An army of locusts charged out like a scene from The Lord of the Rings, except they didn't really stand a chance against our turrets. It also made me think this would be the best spot for the Seriously achievement. Can anybody else confirm? Anyways, back to the game. We swerved around the Brumok like Tokyo Drift and sailed our way forward, hoping to head off another hijacked rig before they reached the bridge. But before we arrived, chat told me about a secret in-game cutscene if I allowed the hijacked rig to go first. This is where I made one critical mistake. I trusted chat. So as we approached the bridge, I let the locust go first because obviously I'm a gentleman, but boy oh boy did it cost us. You said not to... Wait. Wait. Come on, man. Are you kidding? I've been bamboozled by my own stream. For the rest of the stream, we were much more cautious with these so-called secret cutscenes. After removing the driver from the hijacked rig, we made it safely across the bridge and heard an Oklahoman yee-haw from Dizzy. See? That's what I wanted to hear. After crossing the bridge, we continued our way to Landdown, but there were quite a few Brumoks standing in our way. Fortunately for us, this part actually wasn't that bad since we had the nice turret to work with on top of our rig Betty. After taking out all the Brumoks, we were closing in on the deployment location until we came across a roadblock. Our objective here is to escort Dizzy and the rig through the outskirts of the city in order to get to the deployment site. Honestly, this part probably wouldn't have been that bad if it wasn't for these things called tickers. Now, if you watched my last video, you know how much I hated the wretches, but the tickers are just as bad, if not worse. Named after their ticking sound, these creatures are used by the locusts as moving landmines. With emulsion strapped to their back and a mysterious ticking noise, nothing could make these creatures worse. Well, except the dark, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Even as terrified as we were moving forward, our first showdown with the tickers went pretty smoothly for everybody. Well, except for Carmine, but that's normal. When we made it to the gas station up ahead, this is where things got interesting. And by interesting, I mean deadly. Nemesis mortars rained down relentlessly and we had nowhere to go. Anya gave us the bright idea to shoot down the Nemesis, but the game objective said to take cover. And being the courageous man I am, we tried to shoot them down at first, but we quickly found out that was a terrible idea.
Take cover!
What am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm doing. We're in the middle of crossfire from everywhere. After a couple tries, we decided to listen to the game objective over Anya because she clearly wasn't looking out for us. Shockingly enough, hiding behind a wall was actually the safest play here. After the incoming mortar stopped, our beloved Coltrane bailed us out of this sticky situation. This would then lead us to everyone's greatest fear, the dark. No? Just me? This portion actually wouldn't have been that bad if it wasn't for the tickers waiting around every corner to increase your heart rate. Not to mention, even when you do shoot at them, they have the ability to dodge your bullets. And other times, when you do get some shots off, you get bombarded by the little time bombs as you reload. No! No! I think I feel Carmine's pain now. After finally reaching the light at the end of the tunnel, we were met by a Reaver blocking the way to our much needed checkpoint. And I was not about to go back to the beginning of that dark tunnel. So I hid behind a car until the boys took down the Reaver and we moved safely ahead. Work smarter, not harder, am I right? After reaching that checkpoint, there were some enemy mortars that we would need to clear before Dizzy could move ahead. This led us to one of the biggest decisions of the game. Left or right? Let's do it! Are you ready? Okay, we're starting with hotel. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That desires by itself. I choose you. Hotel it is! After grabbing Carmine, we headed into the hotel, hoping to clear the way, and honestly, we didn't have too many issues at first, besides trying to steal a painting off the wall. But after returning the stolen merchandise, we arrived at the end of the street, only to be stopped by a brewmock. This is where things got even more explosive. In order to pass this checkpoint and finish the act, you must take out the brewmock before he destroys Dizzy's rig. Thankfully, we had some mortars to work with, and we felt extremely safe inside the hotel. What? Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. Surprisingly, this game is incredibly realistic because mortars actually don't go through walls. Trust me, I was disappointed too. But upon our resurrection, we found ourselves at the beginning of the street with a second chance to choose a different direction. So we decided to try the roof since there's less ceilings to get in the way. And really, we would have gotten it done the second try, but we failed to hit the last mortar, leading Dizzy and Betty to the grave. This actually led us to being stuck on the roof for quite a while. We even got really good at using the mortar because we had nearly an hour of practice. But after that hour of target practice, we decided it was time to move further in the game for chat's sake and not at all because I finally got lucky. Let's go, B. Yes! Yes! Oh my god! We boarded the rig one last time and headed to the graveyard to be deployed with the rest of the COG soldiers. Upon our arrival though, things seemed quiet. A little too quiet. And that's when the Locust dropped in to sabotage the COG deployment. At first, I was surprised this part was pretty easy for being on insane mode and we beat it on the first try. But that's when I remembered I had all that practice with the rooftop mortars. Your pain is never wasted, my friend. Finally having a moment to catch our breath, Dom makes us promise to look for his wife Maria if anything happens to him. As soon as we make our pinky promise, we meet the ugliest looking dude in the world of Sarah.
Golf move.
Wait. Sorry, his name is Scourge. With 2 chainsaws attached to a single pole, this ugly guy is the new general of the Locust Horde. He took over after General Rom's timely death in our last video's escapades. Scourge jumps on the rig faster than you can say revenge, and as we are being deployed underground, Scourge takes out multiple COG soldiers as well as one of the rigs in the process. As we are unable to get out of the grind lift, Ty and Dizzy fend off Scourge to ensure our arrival into the inner hollow, finally leading us to Act 2. As we enter the inner hollow, the main objective is to continue moving deeper into the enemy's stronghold. Although after arriving, we notice we're missing something. No. Someone. Carmine! We've already lost one Carmine brother, and I was not about to let it happen again. After coming over the comms and letting us know where he was, Dom and I split up to make our way to Carmine's location. Upon our arrival, everyone in Echo 5 had fallen, but we see one man holding his own in the distance, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Carmine. We ran in guns blazing and made it just in time to save our companion. You sure did.
I made it.
Carmine just might make it out of this war after all. After we reunited with Carmine, we had to defend our robot Jack until he fixed a grind lift to get through the next area. And we actually would have completed this on the first try, but I was unaware the Locust Army enlisted Tom Brady to throw their grenades. Did you see that throw? That throw was crazy! I would also like to note that Dom was in the way again, but that was an incredible throw nonetheless. After Jack repaired the grind lift, we were able to move on to the next area, and we come across Squad Omega as they were on the verge of being overrun. Laying down some heavy fire, we took out a couple boomers and all the Locust enemies. We also didn't even die right here. Trust me, I was surprised too. After securing the location, Control comes over the comms channel and reveals that there is some major seismic activity taking place in the hollow. Anya also tells us more information about Dom's missing wife, Maria, and her possible location. But finding Dom's wife would have to wait because now we had bigger fish to fry. Well, worms, really. That's called foreshadowing. As the team begins moving ahead, we make an interesting discovery. The rockworm. These creatures really like glowing plants for snacks and are almost indestructible, which me and Carmine actually tested immediately.
Apparently gunfire doesn't affect them at all.
She's right. That thing's not even
That's
paying attention.
crazy. My only worry about these rockworms was if they got bigger, they could do some really serious damage. But surely that's not the case, right? After giving some tasty treats to our new rockworm pets, we kept our distance as we crossed the bridge, which led us to some high ground above a locust patrol. And that's when Marcus offered some sniper practice. So I took my opportunity to show off my skills to chat, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel like Marky Mark from the movie Shooter.
Yeah, I think you better worry.
But as the Bible says, pride comes before a fall, which happened immediately as we tried to snipe this locust behind a Troika turret. Youch. That hurt. Note to self, I still have a lot to learn. After dropping the sniper, the next attempt went a lot smoother, and the Reaver actually wasn't that bad if you use the Troika turret. We continued to clear out the inner hollow of locust enemies and even assisted Alpha Squad with our finely tuned mortar skills. After defending Alpha Squad, we came across the source of all that seismic activity.
What's that?
Very good. But I guess we found our seismic activity.
Absolutely.
Though we were still unsure what this creature was, we were committed to finding out. Moving ahead, we came across a Cantus guarding some doors, which went by perfectly. That is, if perfectly meant rolling away from a ticker and dying immediately. But after trying one more time, we made it through without a scratch. But then we were brought to an area that would be an absolute pain in my... What? I was gonna say rear. Here we must defend Dom and Carmine from above and then push through another group of enemy infantry up ahead. But if you're depending on Dom and Carmine to help you at all, you will be extremely disappointed. We tried to use the sniper just outside the door, but we were obliterated as soon as we stepped into view. The next attempt, we made it past the first turret, only to be dropped by the second turret I was completely unprepared for.
Oh my gosh, he got me so fast.
Yo, he got me so fast. We came to the point we needed some help, so we figured Dom would return the favor to us. Since, you know, we're best friends, but he thought moral support was the best option.
Okay, I guess Dom just has to go for it. Dude, Dom is standing right there. Hey, can I have some help, bro? He's literally standing there.
But just as
on,
unhelpful
man.
as that may seem, it actually worked in our favor. After removing the first turret, a couple of locusts stood completely still for reasons I still don't understand. And then we took out the Cantus with an accidental headshot. After keeping our distance and slowly moving to the sandbags, Dom had the opportunity to redeem himself, which he took, but only after watching me struggle.
He's still just standing there, bro.
5 minutes later.
Finally, dude, they finally did something they were supposed to. Holy.
After we cleared out the rest of the locusts as a team, we had a long talk about loyalty as we came to the end of these winding caves. But something was afoot that none of us could have ever expected. Scourge flew in riding on a Hydra, commanding the beast that was the source of all the sinking cities around Jacinto. As we watched in terror, the entire city of Alima fell before our very eyes. Finally able to contact control, Marcus reveals how the locusts are destroying our homes, and also answers the rockworm question I had.
Your position.
Anya, it's a giant worm. They're sinking cities with a giant worm.
That's insane.
So, I guess they do get bigger. This rockworm is not only the source of this seismic activity, but is also the reason cities around Jacinto are being completely destroyed. As we watched Alima City fall, we saw a friendly chopper crash land ahead of us. Committed to saving our COG brothers and any survivors, we pushed ahead. But this is where I found out about blood mounts. You see, locusts ride these creatures and shoot at you at the same time. And if you try to use cover, you may be safe from enemy fire, but the blood mount will still find a way. Even if I did happen to get past the blood mounts here, nothing could have prepared me for the Reaver that was about to drop in front of us.
Oh my word. No way.
Golly, bro. If you guys are wondering why I had a sniper out, I just want to say I have no idea. Clearly I didn't learn my lesson earlier. After being sabotaged by our team player Dom and dying a couple more times to the blood mounts, we finally had a good run, cleared out the area, and we're getting closer to the friendly chopper. But on our way, another problem emerges. Literally, a corpser creates a massive emergence hole and somehow lays out an immediate bridge for a dozen enemies that really ruined our day. If this wasn't enough, after finishing them off, another Reaver spawns, sending us to the grave immediately. Thankfully, after some dumb luck, the Reaver got stuck behind a wall and we took it down with ease. And if nobody noticed already, yes, I am using a sniper again. I don't know why. After taking down the last few enemies, we found the downed chopper, but unfortunately Team KR5 didn't make it. The worst part was that we didn't even get the opportunity to grieve our fallen brothers because we were immediately ambushed from above. With Delta being surrounded, we were running out of time, but then we hear something above us. Something like a train, or perhaps someone. Yo!
Yes!
Augustus Cole is back and bails us out in the only way he knows how. Unfortunately, though, he was separated from his squad and unsure if they made it. Which reminds me, are you guys keeping track of how many people we're losing too? It's getting pretty emotional. Nevertheless, we must fight on to find Baird and Tanner, who were separated from Cole at the drop. We came to another bridge to cross, but a Reaver and some locusts stood in the way. You might think the Reaver was the hardest part, but surprisingly, if you hide behind this gate, it actually is pretty easy to take down. The real issue were the tickers that the Cantus summons that snuck up behind us multiple times.
Gah! I'm an idiot, bro. What?
But after removing the Cantus head like David did to Goliath, we safely crossed the bridge and found Baird unharmed, but Tanner didn't make it.
Tanner.
After linking up with Baird, he informs us that the Locusts are processing the prisoners that they capture, whatever that means. A few steps further, we see a beast barge and attempt to save any survivors that are on board. After getting the barge moving, the enemies unleash everything in their power to stop us, and boy did it work. Although we did get a checkpoint, it was just before a cutscene, so anytime we died, we'd have to watch it over and over again. But I think the attempt that hurt the most was when we were about to board the other barge and get another checkpoint.
This one, it better not send me that far back. I promise you right now. I'll lose it. Holy moly!
But it wasn't until 20 minutes later that our struggles ended, as we found every single box that we could to hide behind. As we climbed on another barge, we found that Ty was being held prisoner. We immediately released him, but something was wrong. Ty didn't seem like Ty anymore.
Cole, Baird, cover that door. Carmine, Dom, guard the rear.
Not die. Not die.
Ty!
No! Ty. Anybody ready to cry yet?
The Locust had broken one of the toughest soldiers we had known, and seeing yet another friend fall, we were all devastated, but our journey on this long road was far from finished. We took out a couple Locust enemies before getting off the barge that broke our heart, and we continued moving through this cave until we were finally back outside into the sunken city of Alima. After getting that checkpoint, we get word from Control that they will pick us up on the top of a building further ahead. So we continued moving, and that's when we faced another Reaver that had to be pretty salty that I made it past his best friend at the gate earlier, because he wouldn't stop following me until the job was done.
Get away from me, bro. What did I even blow up to?
Clearly, this guy's bitter. After another attempt, we threw some grenades just before he landed. We backed way up and finally got a revenge as we closed in on the extraction point. After the team reached the extraction location, we would need to defend ourselves until the chopper arrived, which actually was incredibly easy. Once the chopper picked us up, everything was going pretty smoothly as we made our way back to base. That is until the giant worm swallowed us whole.
Carmine!
Worst possible thing you could say.
Yeah. Once we all regained consciousness, we realized two things. One, Carmine is missing again, and two, we've fallen into Jonah Chapter 1. Now Delta Team had two objectives. We hoped to find Carmine along the way, but the first priority was saving the other cities, and in order to do this, we would need to take down the worm. Starting inside the stomach, we worked our way through the digestive teeth and found out immediately that they're extremely deadly. But on our second try, it turned out better.
Dude, what?
I mean, on our third try, it turned out a lot better. If the teeth weren't challenging enough, we then came across a new creature, Nemecytes. These ugly creatures also work to help the rockworm digest smaller things like cog soldiers, but surely that wouldn't happen to us. As we moved across our first encounter with the Nemecytes, we find Carmine, but this time, we weren't fast enough.
No! Not Carmine! Not again! Carmine.
With Carmine's death, we were all devastated again, losing another Carmine brother on our watch. But this only made us more committed to taking down this giant worm. Furious that he lost another cog soldier, Cole decides to shoot the inside of this worm, so the worm fights back. Somehow this worm creates a giant boulder from Indiana Jones to chase us through its body. I don't even want to know the anatomy on this thing, but honestly this part wasn't too bad and we found ourselves in the worm's intestines shortly after. This also made me think about Jonah and the big fish. Can you imagine spending 3 days in there? Anyways, after making our way through the intestines and dying to the new acid super soakers a few times, by some miracle we made it through the toxic gas on the first try and finally reached the heart.
Where's the heart? The precious heart.
Well, I guess the first heart. I don't know if you know this, but the rockworm actually has 3 hearts we would need to destroy. We took down the first heart with no issues, and then we did the same with the second heart, which would leave one last heart remaining. Nearly drowning, we hurried to cut through the 4 arteries to completely destroy the riftworm, finally relieving us of the worm's body and the destruction of the surrounding cities. And I have to ask, was it just me or was this the most epic scene in the game for you guys too? We took him down, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Upon cutting our way out of the riftworm, we get a call from Control and say that Operation Storm is still a go. But Hoffman states that Delta Team would be following a different course of action. Our team would need to make their way to a COG outpost to retrieve more intel on the Locust Stronghold. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sick of following Hoffman's orders. I mean, we just killed a worm for crying out loud. With the entire team feeling nervous about the next mission, I was pretty nervous myself, so you know exactly what we had to do. We made coffee. After being recaffeinated, we climbed on the Centaur and headed to the facility. Arriving just outside of the abandoned building, things seemed eerie in the pouring rain. Now, I love rainy days for a good game session, but this type of rainy day is a little too spooky for my taste. And to make things worse, we get inside, but we're stopped by a creepy AI named Niles, and he won't let us in without proper identification. Our robot Jack tried to rip the door, but wasn't able to, so we figured some extra strength explosives would be the perfect form of identification. As Baird prepared the blast charge, Dom and I made our way to turn on the power, which made me feel like I was playing Call of Duty Zombies again. Afterwards, we worked our way back to the Centaur and fought through some wretches with the flamethrower, and accidentally got another achievement.
Where's Dom? Smells like victory. What? Torch 30 enemies. Let's go, baby. Didn't even mean to do that one.
After regrouping with Baird, we grabbed the charge and would need to team carry the heavy artillery down this long hallway. While this part was pretty easy, turning at the speed of a sloth and the oncoming wretches made it extremely stressful. Thankfully, we made it to the door and gave Niles his proper identification. After getting inside, we began to think there was a little bit more than just research going on here. Unfortunately, when we turned on the power, it also activated the facility's security system, and we found out immediately that it's state-of-the-art.
Oh my... I didn't expect
So we continued very cautiously, shutting down every security system we could find. Well, we tried to at least. Most of the time we would die trying to move out of the way, or we were attacked by a band of wretches that were waiting behind a door. If this wasn't hard enough, the next part actually set us back 30 minutes. We made it outside only to be bombarded by some wretches that decided to become Neo from the Matrix.
Dude. Whatever, dude. Whatever. That's so stupid.
On the off chance we made it past them, we were absolutely destroyed by the turrets moments later, which would send us all the way back to the wretches again. After having a rare moment of good skills and using Dom as bait, we got back inside and continued to make our way through the maze of security systems and flamethrowers. We reached a long hallway of laser turrets, and since I decided to use Dom as bait earlier, I figured it was only right that I be the laser bait this time. Oddly enough, this part wasn't too difficult. After getting inside the lab, we made 2 discoveries. 1, we can get into the Locust Stronghold through Mount Kadar, and 2, this research facility was not at all what it seemed. We come to find out this facility was actually experimenting on humans and turning them into monster-like creatures called sires. But thankfully, these sires are inside these massive test tubes that couldn't possibly be broken.
Brother.
Oh my gosh, get the heck out of here!
These things are the most terrifying creatures I've ever seen, and I made a run for my life leaving Dom behind. But this led us to an entire pack of these monsters waiting at the door to tear us to
I
pieces.
should have kept the flamethrower. Dadgummit, I should have kept the flamethrower. How are we gonna make it out of
We
here?
would have been stuck here for a very long time if chat hadn't let us know that we're actually invincible if you use the chainsaw. After we defeated the first set of sires, Niles states something I couldn't believe.
Bridge to our future.
This guy just said genetic bridge to the future? What, brother? We've got these things running around? The surface? Excuse me? Talk about sick, am I right? Running our way through this nightmare maze, we reached a door and quickly ran inside without a scratch. Well, at least I did. Dom, on the other hand, got beat up quite a bit upon our entry. After shutting down the facility's AI, we figured that all of our problems were finally past us. But nothing could be further from the truth. It actually got even worse. The locusts are back with flamethrowers, and the rain from earlier has now turned to razor hail, which is kind of like normal hell, but much more deadly. This part took us a lot longer than other portions for more reasons than one. Sometimes we were roasted alive by a locust, and other times we made it further only to die trying to get out of the way of the security system that I thought we turned off. It wasn't until we started throwing grenades that we made some good progress and finally made it to the train portion. Finally taking a load off, we took a nice train ride to get to the next area. But after getting off the train, we moved ahead a little too quickly and a locust sniper gave us the Anthony Carmine treatment. Gosh, that makes me so mad. Gosh darn it. After retrieving our head, we took things a lot slower, which seemed to work much better. We also found out that on the train, you can actually just stay behind cover the entire time, and you're completely safe. As we continued moving ahead, we opened some garage doors to shield us from the hail. We also took another train ride and we're finally closing in on the Centaur's location to escape this awful facility. But in order to get to the Centaur, we would need to take out multiple waves of locust enemies. And honestly, it was going incredibly smoothly as we moved ahead after the first wave. And that's when we came across the best hide-and-seek player known to man.
Oh, it's literally just because of that one guy. Another one. How am I even supposed to see that guy is what I want to know.
I have to ask you guys, did he hide from you too, or am I just blind? After checking our corners like Captain Price would say, we pushed through this part without too much difficulty. The razor hail finally stopped and we reached the Centaur, but Baird would need to repair it before we could leave. As we approached, chat told me that there were reavers coming to absolutely destroy us, which happened almost immediately.
You destroyed me, bro.
But on our second attempt, as we backed into a dead-end corner awaiting another death, the most mysterious thing happened by accident.
Did we just do something like super helpful? Did we just beat the game right here doing this? What are the odds?
Somehow we found a spot that the reavers wouldn't dare to approach. While I was extremely happy that I made it out quickly, chat was livid that I got so lucky.
It said, I'm living. I'm living. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But don't worry, my happiness didn't last too long. With the information we gained on the Locust Stronghold, we must make our way to Mount Kadar to sneak into the enemy's back door. Unfortunately, it's a long walk, so we would have to drive, which sounded great until I realized something. I have to drive. I immediately was having flashbacks to Gears of War 1 driving in the krill-infested city. With no idea how much health your tank has, moments like this will happen a lot.
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding?
Oh, this is gonna be awful, bro.
Yes. Yes, it is, Sam. Not only is weakness an issue, but it's also extremely difficult to drive straight and shoot at the same time. On the bright side, though, resetting multiple times allowed us to get a little bit closer to the seriously achievement. I'm a cup half full kind of guy. Shortly after, we learned that we could sit back and shoot from a safer distance without receiving too much damage. And after a lot of trial and error, we came to a ramp that would lead us to the frozen lake. Now, I'm no expert, but if the stuff in the Fast and Furious movies is even remotely possible, surely we could cross this lake.
Oh, I'm dead. Yo, what is
This
that?
part actually isn't too bad when you learn the spots the enemies would fire the mortars at, but if you're like me, you tend to forget the patterns. After finding the right path and avoiding the mortars, we crossed the first lake, and the second one was much easier. As we continued our way up Mount Kadar, things actually weren't that bad. Well, besides driving off a bridge that I thought was a ramp.
Ah, dang it. Almost. We almost made it.
But after finding the ramp in the trees and gaining some style points, we finally came to the top of the mountain, which would have an incredibly difficult surprise. The wall. All we have to do here is destroy this tower and bust our way to the front door. But as easy as that sounds, in this tower, the enemies have aimbots and have Terminator-like strength as well. The first few attempts, we were getting our bearings and listening to Bear tell us to over and over again. So we tried to shoot the tower from a safe distance before moving ahead, and even that didn't work. There was even one moment we mistakenly thought we took the tower down.
No way. Oh no, we died. Dang it.
Although we didn't make it this time, we did come up with an idea. We moved forward just far enough to spawn the enemies and backed up even further to shoot down the tower. After firing numerous rockets, we somehow took down the tower and were moving inside Mount Kadar. Thankfully, all roads come to an end, but not this one. We slowly drive our way inside the mountain and things are going pretty smoothly. I mean, sure, we saw a corpser that jump scared us and a brumok in the distance that reminded me of Jurassic Park, but I was still thankful that we had our lights on. Oh, shoot. 1 second.
Oh my gosh!
I was honestly surprised how easy the corpses were to take down, but then we had to fight our way through some brumoks, which was also pretty easy, until I died to a brumok body.
Can I hide in the body? So I just ran into the dead brumok and died. I just want that to be clear.
After dealing with the brumoks, it would finally end our time in the Centaur, and we would also meet up with one of the most unlikely characters from Gears of War 1. The gas station guy whose name is actually Chap, I just learned. Chap gives us some information on Dom's wife Maria in the direction of the Locust capital, Nexus. Beard and Cole were going to take the people to safety, as Dom and I would make our way to the Locust capital and look for Dom's wife. We started our way to Nexus and moved further ahead into some Locust ruins. Shortly after, we come face to face with the Theron guards again, who have torque bows and gunboats roaming the lake. Thankfully, I hit one of the best shots the world has ever seen, but seconds after that, the Theron guard avenged their fallen brother.
Oh, I'm dead. How am I gonna have a shot like that and die? Dang it.
After humbling ourselves a little bit, we played the corners and used the torque bow to our advantage. After taking down another gunboat and making it through the rest of the enemies, we see a paddle boat in the distance that we might be able to use to get to Nexus. But upon reaching our boat, we realized that this boat wouldn't make it. Good thing we're fighting the Locusts though, because they destroyed the dock we're standing on and now we have a raft. This portion was actually so annoying. We have to defend this tiny raft from oncoming Locust gunboats, which actually would be pretty easy if we had anything helpful to hide behind. You may think the boxes would give you plenty of cover, and I did too. That is until I trusted them with my life and died immediately. But thankfully I wasn't alone in this fight. It was almost midnight and my 3 loving viewers were encouraging me the whole way.
You got this, man. Just take your time. If I can do it, you can do it. Sam the Hammerman all the time. I do tell you guys that.
After the encouragement from chat, we were ready to get back on that raft and die as much as it took. And it took another 15 more minutes. Then we had a moment of success and defended the raft, but there was also something lurking under the water. But despite our fears, we had Locusts to fight, and after defending the first raft, we were forced onto an enemy gunboat, which we also had to defend. And I honestly don't know which part would have been worse, because this time we actually had some cover to hide behind, we just couldn't get to it. After a few more attempts, we stayed alive just long enough to reach a cave that the Locusts didn't follow us into for some reason. Then we found out why.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
You gotta be kidding me.
No way they're surviving that. Let's be real.
Finally out of the Locust reach, we were floating our way to the next area when we saw it. A sea creature that people were unsure existed. And I'm here to tell you, it's real. The Locust Monster. See what I did there? This portion was actually pretty tedious because one step in the wrong direction turned us into Nessie's lunch. And anytime you die, you actually have to reset the entire boss fight. Here you have to play a nice game of sea monster ring toss. After getting into position to take out the monster, I didn't realize that the monster had tentacles inside his mouth too.
They didn't say there was tentacles inside the mouth of this thing, okay? That wasn't in the game plan.
After changing the battle plan, we strategically gave this beast some wicked indigestion 3 separate times before finally taking it down. We also realized that Dom didn't help us whatsoever and tried to take credit for this great catch. Die! Yes.
Biggest fish.
You didn't do jack, bro.
Let's just get out of the...
After defeating the Loch Ness Monster, we arrive near the highway of the Locust Capital and finish Act 3. I'm only letting you guys know this so you can bring your tissues for Act 4 because it's about to get sad and difficult. Finding the Nexus Highway, we notice an entire army of locusts marching through, and we need to activate a beacon to let Barrett and Cole know our location. But Dom sees this as the perfect opportunity to sneak inside unnoticed to look for his wife Maria. Committed to love, we reluctantly follow Dom in his attempt to find his wife in the Locust camp. Really, we didn't have too much trouble getting into the Locust stronghold until this moment here on the bridge. You see, there are locusts here, here, and here with the spotlight. We thought the best idea was to take out the spotlight first, which we had no problem with. On the other hand, the enemies on our sides had us pinned down worse than the hunter from our Left 4 Dead video. And on the chance we had a decent run, it was quickly put to rest by a locust enemy that I thought Dom would take care of. Although following that attempt, Dom decided to actually help for once and run ahead, but died in the process. Surprisingly though, this worked to our benefit.
Oh, let's go, baby. I got you, Dom. I got you. That might have just somehow worked out in our favor. I'm winning that one, bro. Yes, baby. Note to self, next time Dom pushes ahead, just wait for him to go down. Oh yeah, baby.
After finally making it inside of the Locust camp, we access a terminal and begin looking for Maria. We come across the Locust patrol and Dom tells us to stay under the radar, but these people took Dom's wife. I couldn't just let it slide. After taking some vengeance, we moved ahead and found Maria's holding area. But before we could find her, we heard the worst thing imaginable. The wretches scream.
They found us.
Oh no.
I hate that scream so much. I was really hoping we could beat this part quickly because I was already sick of hearing that noise. But we were stuck at this portion for a good 10 minutes because I continued to die. Not to mention, when I was charged by 2 wretches, Dom also chose not to help.
Why did both of them come to me? I'm dead. Dang it, bro. What is that? Dom was no help right there.
But to be fair to Dom, when he did get involved, things didn't go according to plan.
Dom, no. Oh, we're dead. We're so dead, bro. No. What is that, man?
I know 10 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're playing the game, it feels a lot longer. Dom must have felt really bad because after those agonizing 10 minutes, he defends us from the wretches while we hide behind cover, spraying and praying. It's clear this guy really wants to save his wife. After securing the area, Jack finds Maria's holding container as Dom waits to be reunited with his loving wife. But as Maria is released from her holding cell and falls into the loving arms of her husband, we notice she wasn't the same, and our hearts began to break.
No, baby.
Not Maria!
No. What did they do to you? I'm so sorry, Maria. I tried to find you. God, I did. Marcus, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, man.
No. It's okay.
Maria. Listen, I can't handle any more loss, okay? Although Dom was crushed by the weight of losing his wife, we pushed deeper into the Locust Capital to activate the beacon for Cole and Baird. Up to this point, Act 4 had been brutal in more ways than one, and I was hoping to breeze by the next section pretty quickly. But as we were closing in on another checkpoint, a pair of locusts pulled off the greatest bait and switch I've ever seen. So the next time we got a chance, we made them pay and yelled at them like a dad yells at professional football on TV.
See ya. Now we've got the high ground. How about that? It sucks, doesn't it, when you can get shot from the ground?
See, when we have the high ground, we will be victorious, okay?
was trying to figure out where I was going with
After yelling at the locusts like they could actually hear us, it would lead us to one of the more difficult portions of this act. You see, the plan here was to take out the enemies in front of us, which really wasn't the issue. What I was not prepared for is a Reaver to drop in the middle of the bridge.
No, bro! I literally thought we could get him.
Apparently, I continued to remain unprepared because it took us nearly 20 minutes to find a way to take out the Reaver. Although when we finally solved the Reaver problem with a few grenades and a torque bow, we were extremely happy.
Baby, come on! Come on!
With the excitement in my eyes, you guys might think we moved ahead easily, and I thought we were going to as well. But that's when we made a huge mistake. We thought the area was safe.
Oh my gosh.
No! Oh my god! What?
I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. No, bro. What?
I'm not gonna lie, this one hurt me inside. After we were sent back to this checkpoint, we made sure the next time we defeated the Reaver, the forward area was completely safe before approaching. As Dom and I continued to move ahead, we didn't really have too much trouble with most of the enemies in this area until we reached the area to deploy the beacon. The first wave of infantry wasn't really the problem, but if you guys are thinking there's Reavers coming, you're absolutely right. Oh no! I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead! No, bro. After this Reaver lit me up faster than a family Christmas tree, the next attempt, we played behind some pillars for safety as we threw every grenade we had. Surprisingly, this worked extremely well. Jack deployed the beacon and we received a checkpoint as more of our COG soldiers were dropping in. It made me feel confident that I had some reinforcements behind us. And maybe the overconfidence was my issue, because as soon as we got to this checkpoint, a locust shot a mortar in the air, forcing me to charge ahead.
Oh, we gotta go. I'm dead. I'm dead doing this. Yeah. I was dead really regardless, if we're being real.
If you don't know already, I'm extremely competitive, and I hate losing. So when the Locust made an absolute fool of me here, you can imagine I was pretty angry. But as the righteous man I am, I don't give up, I get up. So we put the pedal to the metal, committed to push ahead no matter how long it took. And it took quite a bit. Sometimes we died immediately off the spawn.
Okay, everybody just took a hack and like, I'm dead.
Others we died attempting to run away.
How did we make it? We did it!
We even had an idea that we could stay far enough back and let Dom do the work, which went well until it didn't.
How is that guy even hitting me?
With really no alternative, we tried to run away from our problems one more time. But this time, as we were running away, we saw some stray gunfire in the distance.
Those are our teammates! Let's go! It's Colin Baird! Let's go! They saved our butt, baby!
Let's go! After reuniting with Delta Team, we moved deeper into the Locust capital, and if there was ever any question before, now there is definitely no turning back. We would continue our road to enter the palace of the Locust Queen, but first we would need to cross over an emulsion canyon, which actually was pretty easy for once. Surprisingly, as we continued moving ahead looking for the Queen, we didn't really have too many issues, other than the tickers coming up behind us and exploding out of nowhere. We even saw some glowing locusts that looked pretty cool, honestly. But after reaching a balcony, we were merely steps before entering the Queen's palace, and we had the perfect plan to get inside. But the tricky part was completing it.
If we don't die first. Are you kidding? I just spoke that one into existence. Good grief.
You would think having the high ground would have helped us in this case, but the boomers countered that immediately. After playing a nice game of dodge the boom shot, we defended ourselves against the boomers and finally made it downstairs, where we discovered the real reason why the locusts were so desperate to leave their home.
That explains their desperation in the raids. They're losing their home turf to the Lambent.
Bum bum bum! Just as we learn more about the Locust home being infested with the Lambent, we come to a final wave with Acanthus, boomers, and locusts that completely destroyed any confidence I had remaining. At first, we tried to hide behind some cover, but that was quickly shot down. After this, we tried hiding around one of the columns up ahead, but we died to something we couldn't even see.
I just passed. Just absolutely took out.
What was that? No, man! After dying multiple times, I was so annoyed that I had to come up with an entirely new plan. Hide and blind fire. Finally surviving past the first 10 seconds, we ever so cautiously made our way to the next checkpoint. As we were being attacked by the Lambent, we boarded the elevator and took it down all the way to the front of the Queen's Palace. After getting inside, we would spend almost an hour trying to make our way to the bottom of the Queen's Palace, walking down this never-ending staircase. This part was actually so annoying, and when we finally got to the bottom of the staircase, the game did me so dirty. Oh, this is gonna be awful. No! No! Dude. What even is that, bro? Here is when I should have taken a break, but we forced ourselves to try again, and thankfully the next time we made it to the checkpoint by hiding at the door's entrance. After entering the lower palace, Jack finds some information on a way to destroy the inner hollow from none other than Marcus's dad, Adam Phoenix. It is then revealed that there is only one way to destroy the inner hollow before the Locust destroy Jacinto. We have to destroy Jacinto first. By sinking Jacinto first, it would flood the inner hollow and would finish this war. So as the team splits up to continue searching for the Queen, we let Control know we had a new mission. We then came to a part that I thought was going to be really challenging. With all the open areas and hallways, it was super intimidating. But surprisingly, that wasn't the case here. We made it through the long hallways pretty smoothly, which I will say, things do get a little bit easier when you have a torque bow. After clearing out the bottom level, we were finally about to find the Queen when a trapdoor opened and we fell down below. The funny thing about this part is that it's actually supposed to be pretty easy to get out of. But if you're anything like me, you tend to make things harder than they should be, especially when you shoot a torque bow right at your feet. Oh no! Oh my gosh, bro. What? I also didn't realize at this point we could have avoided a lot of issues if we would have used the wheel right next to us. Shortly after, we come face to face with the Locust Queen. Queen Mira had found out about our plans to sink Jacinto City thanks to Scourge. She also reveals her displeasure in us that we didn't take the same path our father did. After we find out the Queen and Adam Phoenix knew each other, she reveals the Locust army are already marching to Jacinto. As she walks away, she leaves Scourge behind to destroy us once and for all. This guy is really mad we killed his pet worm and wants to do the exact same thing to us, but thankfully this fight was 2 versus 1, and with Dom by my side taking out the tickers, I can't imagine anything going wrong. What? Oh my gosh. Okay, Dom was completely selling, so it was up to us. The next attempt, we were rolling around perfectly, dodging the tickers as we saw a pillar about to fall. What? What? This is stupid. Oh my god. Surprisingly, the hardest part of this boss fight wasn't even the boss. It was actually the falling pillars and the tickers that Dom was supposed to protect me from. After developing a system of running away, we finally got lucky enough and evaded all the pillars and were just about to take out Scourge for good. But this time, the Phantom Menace got away. As Scourge flees the scene on his new pet Hydra, our new objective was to find a way back to Jacinto before the Locust could destroy the city. We then had to run across a long bridge while being fired upon from multiple sides to reach our new rides out of this place.
Get on those reavers!
Marcus, I don't think they're gonna let us just climb on it.
I can't believe we just made that. First try? Let's go.
Let's ride,
You mean
Delta.
luck? Yeah, baby. I got some.
We became familiar with the new controls and started flying our way to freedom, which would be extremely difficult. I'm joking. Chat couldn't believe it either, but we actually came to the checkpoint of this area on the first try, with some highly effective serpentine movements. But after defending some of the COG soldiers, the next part would be scary. Although we only died twice right here, the journey to get out of the Locust tunnels with this ugly thing chasing you is extremely stressful, especially when the objectives aren't very clear on how to defend yourself.
What? What am I even supposed to do with that?
But after finally getting an idea of what to do, we escaped the Locust tunnels and contacted Anya to evacuate Jacinto. As we make our way back to base, we are bombarded by Reavers, and Scourge is also back on the Hydra. But with an enormous amount of serpentine movement and using the 5 dodgeball Ds, we finally escape the clutches of Scourge and send him and his pet to the grave. As we flew into Jacinto, we still had a mission to complete in the final act of the game. After giving the information from Marcus's dad to Colonel Hoffman and Chairman Prescott, they send us on a new mission. The objective is to sink Jacinto with the light mass bomb in order to flood the inner hollow and save the world. But first we would need to defend the headquarters from the Locust attack. As we talked to chat, we were really excited to start the mission, hoping for the best. That is until we actually began.
It is what it is. Red alert indeed. Well, okay. I guess we're gonna call it a day right there.
It was, in fact, not going to be an easy day, but the worst was yet to come. Once we got past the first set of Locust defenses, the following portion wasn't too bad, despite the Reavers that dropped down and blew us to pieces. But after surviving just long enough for some choppers to arrive, we got some help and we're on our way to defend the communication tower. After saving the comms tower, we would need to defend against another group of locusts. Now, I haven't played this game in a long time, but I figured we would have to deal with a big enemy like a Brumok, which I was right. But what I didn't know was we would be dealing with 2 Brumoks. Get up! Oh my word! Bro, what? No way. I think the worst part about this portion was anytime you died, you had to take out all the locusts and boomers again before getting another shot at the Brumoks. So after getting extremely familiar with our surroundings, we found that the best idea was to use the mulcher, because using the mortars still gives you a chance to blow yourself up. But we never gave up. Despite how many times we blew ourselves up, we came to our 5th attempt and had taken down one of the Brumoks and had one remaining. As we scrambled around trying to stay alive and find another heavy weapon, the weirdest thing happened.
We didn't even do it! Let's go, baby! Let's go, baby!
Control.
Yes!
Main gate secure.
Who was next to me? Was that Hoffman? Cog Gear. Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to the COG soldiers, because boy oh boy did they pull through when we needed them. After defending the COG HQ, we got the details on how to sink Jacinto. Dom and I would need to find a way to the sinkhole and wait for the light mass bomb to be delivered by Cole and Baird. What I didn't realize is that the next couple hours would be the most difficult parts of this entire achievement. Starting at the archives building, we needed to clear out the enemies in order to push inside. With enemy infantry in front of us and above us with sniper fire, this part was pretty difficult and definitely made me rage. Although after Dom decided to sacrifice himself to the flamethrower locust, we had the chance to take out the last enemy and made it inside the archives building. After moving through, it brought us to the courtyard, which would be the most challenging part of this entire game. The objective here, although simple, in my opinion was the hardest to complete for me in this entire game. As soon as you walk through the door, you are bombarded by every single enemy in the game, besides the Reaver. Pressing on, we tried to craft a better approach for this portion. We initially thought we could wait at the spawn point, but this was denied by the tickers that found a way to corner us.
I was pressing the button, bro. I was pressing the button to dodge, and he didn't move. They trapped me in the corner. I couldn't do anything, bro. What am I supposed to do?
The next attempt, we actually took down the Cantus and we're slowly making our way through the other locusts, but just when I started to feel good about this run, we died to the Invisible Man.
What? I don't even know what got me, bro.
After a few attempts like this, we had to form a new plan, so we tried something new. Something insane. We ran straight ahead towards the enemies immediately and tried to get to some cover on the left-hand side of the courtyard. And it actually worked. As the wretches and boomers came out, we dealt with them pretty easily and this attempt was looking very promising. But then an enemy appeared that I forgot to mention earlier. 2 blood mounts.
Come on! You gotta be joking. It just never stops, man. Way, bro! There's no way! There's no way!
Yeah, I was about to lose it at this point. Thankfully, this run wasn't a total loss as we found a plan that would actually work if we implemented it well. The problem was that this plan wasn't implemented well for another hour. Upon finally getting to a good spot and taking out the last 2 locusts, we used the turret to take out the blood mounts, which left us with 1 locust remaining and I was waiting like a lion to pounce. When the opportunity arose, we let those bullets sail like a boat on the open sea.
Oh my God. Yes! Oh my gosh. I'm glad you could join the party, Dom.
After completing this area, we would need to continue moving down the street, which wasn't even half as bad as what we just went through. We took down a few enemies from above as we inched our way closer to the sinkhole. We even got to use my favorite weapon to take down the Reaver, and man did it feel good. As we arrived at the sinkhole, we would need to use this piece of machinery to get across the canyon. This part actually gave us a lot of issues, but not for the reason you might think. This part took us so long because Dom literally decided to leave. No, like really, Dom performed the best disappearing act I've ever seen.
Where is Dom? Is he on there?
With absolutely no idea what to do here, we kept playing with the crane, going back and forth, trying to trigger something that would make Dom reappear. With no clue what else to do, we reset the game and it actually fixed the problem. Finally, we had a good run going, made it across, and took down all the enemies. Then a Reaver dropped in and blew us to pieces before we could use the Hammer of Dawn. And the crane glitch happened again. Did you guys have this problem too, or is it just me? Thankfully, it would finally end after Dom decided to stop being a turd burger and I used the Hammer of Dawn at every possible moment. As we moved ahead through the rubble of the city, Anya reveals that Baird and Cole are on their way with the light mass bomb. Rushing for time, we would need to make our way to the bottom very quickly. Thankfully, our makeshift bridge made that extremely easy. After reaching the bottom of the sinkhole, we are attacked by a Locust army and a Brumok that destroyed the building. After climbing out of the burning building, we noticed the Brumok was stuck, and it didn't feel right to leave him there, so we decided to free it. As we entered the last mission of the game, we were wreaking havoc inside the inner hollow with our new beast, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt good to be stronger for once. But we would still need to stay focused on the mission. We were here for the people of Sarah. Committed to taking out all the enemies we could, we finally came across a worthy opponent that would test our skills. Well, I guess the Brumok skills.
Oh shoot, I didn't even realize what we were doing right now. Come on! If you're ever wondering who would win in a fight between a corpse and a Brumok, well, now you know. After taking down the corpse and a Locust barge, we cleared the area so Cole and Baird could fly inside. We cleared a path for the chopper and were waiting their arrival, but once the two choppers flew inside, Billy the Brumok wasn't feeling too well. Taken over by the lambent juice, the Brumok destroyed one of the king's ravens and we lost the light mass bomb. With no other option, we were about to leave, but then Baird said something that gave us an idea.
Lambent? Lambent? Is it exploding lambent? Yeah, like the wretches, but way bigger. Then I think we've got our bomb.
Delta Team didn't come all this way for nothing. All those people who passed along the way in this unforgiving journey would not die in vain. This was for Ty. This was for Carmine. This was for Maria. This was for me. Wait, okay, maybe not that last one, but we finally had our bomb and one last objective to accomplish. Billy the Brumok wasn't Billy anymore. He was Boris the Beast. So without much direction, we began our first attempt and it ended with Boris taking us down to the lambent juices. But the second attempt with the Hammer of Dawn in our hands, we knew exactly what to do. We gave Boris as much fire as we could, but for some reason it still wasn't enough.
Dude, I suck. I suck.
But I wasn't going home a loser today. On the next attempt, I was ready. We let the lasers of the Hammer of Dawn fly into this monster with such fire and fury that the band Skillet would be proud. After sending the beams of fire into this monster, he had finally had enough, and the moment we had all been waiting for was happening before our very eyes.
Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby! Come on! Yes, baby!
Get us out of here now! All KR units, evac to the
Yes! Let's freaking go, baby!
Playing this game was an emotional roller coaster, but we finally saved the people of Sarah and collected the hardest achievement in the game. If you liked this video, you should watch this one too, because it was pretty insane. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next gaming adventure.